Hello everyone, my name is Agent Paul of Mobile Task Force Delta 7, codename Bookkeepers, and welcome back to their SCP document review. Now this SCP is my first ever meta SCP, so allow me to pull back the veil a little bit and explain. This SCP is almost specifically a short story. The SCP itself is not to be read by a document reviewer, as you will see when we get to the end of the document. So, with that out of the way, let us begin. Welcome, Dr. Archibald. You are currently editing SCP-5510. Your session will expire after 118 seconds of inactivity. Item number, SCP-5510. Object class, safe. Currently provisional. No file selected for the SCP image. Special containment procedures. SCP-5510 is to be kept in a small item locker. Confirmation testing is currently ongoing. Description: SCP-5510 is a TV remote control. The object functions as expected, with the exception of its 4 media navigation buttons. When one is pressed, the subjective time experienced by the anomaly changes. And here we have Addendum 5510-1, the testing logs, being written in live time. There's the button, and the result. Fast forward. SCP-5510 experiences time at half speed. Rewind. SCP-5510 experiences time at double speed. Play. No known effects. Pause. And that is where the SCP ends. So, this SCP is one of the ones that you view on the website, and it's less of a document and more of a story. In this case, Dr. Archibald was working on SCP-5510. Following standard procedure, he was working through the document. At the time, it was believed to be a safe SCP, and after testing things, he found that it was simply normal, except for the 4 navigation buttons. He pressed fast forward, something happened. He pressed rewind, something different happened. He pressed play, nothing happened. And then he pressed pause. And the document is frozen in time, as either the world itself, Dr. Archibald, we don't know, is frozen in time. He cannot finish the document, and if he's frozen in time, he can't press the play button to resume time. This is honestly an amazing SCP, and I love it. I know I don't usually break the fourth wall with these documents, but I feel that this SCP deserves a bit of appreciation, and this SCP is by AI Smollard. And even in the discussion tab, it says no, it's not incomplete. And honestly, I love this SCP. I don't even know if I should put a picture in for the SCP. But if you haven't yet, go to the link in the description, give it a read, and if you're a member of the SCP Foundation, be sure to upvote this SCP. So, let us resume the world that I present to you every week with a more formal outro. And that is it for this week's document review. Thank you so much for listening or watching, and my name is Agent Paul of MTF Delta 7, and I will see you next week with another document review. Bye.